Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Hall, I want to know how EPA and DOJ came to the conclusion to drop the agency's complaint against GEO, a contractor that operates the ICE facility in Adelanto, California. My staff have personally visited this facility because Congress has a fundamental role in conducting oversight of private entities that receive federal contracts and awards. During the last administration, EPA found that the company had violated the law 1,137 times by failing to provide employees with personal protective equipment. The pesticide chemical known as HALT comes with a warning that says, quote, causes irreversible eye damage and skin burns, harmful if swallowed or absorbed through the skin. Do not get in eyes, on skin, or on clothing. The private prison company was facing $4 million in fines under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act for irresponsible use of a chemical disinfectant that is hazardous to human health. But your agency dropped the case. A former EPA enforcement official called the Trump administration's choice to drop the case a, quote, complete surrender. So I want to know what happened here. The facility is in my state, and I want to know why the EPA completely surrendered to this private prison company after a change in administration. So let me begin with one question. Are you aware that GEO Group gave President Trump's super PAC $1 million and contributed $500,000 to his inauguration?
Thank you, Senator, for the opportunity to address that. And Ranking Member Whitehouse raised it in my meeting with him, so I'm prepared to walk through it. I do want to say up front, I was not involved in the decision-making. It was purely an EPA case because it was an administrative case going to an administrative adjudication. I am aware of that fact, or the general nature of those facts, not the specific dollar amounts now, based on reporting by ProPublica after the case had already been decided to be dismissed. And honestly, that's how I came to awareness of those facts.
Okay, you became, just for clarity, you became aware of this from the ProPublica report after the decision was made.
Yes, Senator.
But do you know whether those who were involved in making the decision were aware that GEO was a major contributor to the tune of $1.5 million to President Trump or his committees?
The decision was made by career management officials, and to my knowledge, they were not aware of any of those facts, nor did they enter the decision-making for that case.
And do you know whether the White House had any communication with those responsible for the dismissal of the case?
I do not specifically know, but I do not believe they did.
And what is the basis of your speculation that you don't believe that they did? How would you know?
Because I have talked with the career management officials. They didn't indicate that there was any other influence, and that was purely decided by those career management officials.
Okay, well, having talked with them, did you discuss the president's the contributions by the company to the president?
I mentioned the fact that that there was a ProPublica article on it, and they indicated that the career management official making that decision indicated he was not aware of it.
So the person who made the decision to dismiss the case claimed to you that he had no knowledge that GEO was a major contributor to the president or his committees?
That is my understanding.
Well, you said you had this conversation, so I don't want to ask your understanding. Is that what this person told you?
Yes.
And what is your view of the EPA dropping this case? What's the basis for this?
So thank you, Senator, for the opportunity to discuss that, because I think it's important to be able to explain that. The career management officials that took a look at this took a look at the facts and the law. And so on the law, they took a look at the legal risk, including to the FIFRA enforcement program from proceeding with the case on an administrative hearing, as well as the facts and the equities, and they appropriately decided to dismiss it. I think there was three. So in my understanding of just how I think about the case, I think there were three critical points. One is that the case was only about whether or not the gloves that were used by those employees were labeled consistently with the disinfectant, not whether or not anybody was harmed. That was not part of the FIFRA administrative adjudication case. Second, GEO Group had on its own gone out and gotten an independent laboratory to assess whether or not those gloves were protective, and found that it was, and they had an expert witness willing to testify at the administrative hearing to that fact. And three, there was an article in the National Law Review that just came out yesterday indicating that EPA enforcement has not only continued but stepped up against antimicrobial products that are mislabeled or unregistered, and I think those are the ones that are harmful.
And if I could, one more question, Madam Chair. 1,137 violations. This wasn't as if there was a single episode or single use of a glove. Over what period of time were those 1,137 violations? And doesn't that indicate a pattern practice of willful disregard of the law?
Senator, my understanding, based on the complaint in the administrative case and not based on anything else, is that it occurred sometime between 2021 and 2023, and that was just based on the fact that the gloves were used routinely in cleanings. And no, I don't think it demonstrates a pattern or practice of willful disregard of the law, because again, the key question was whether or not those gloves were appropriate and for use with that disinfectant. And I think that was a contested factual issue, and I think it was appropriate that enforcement resources were not used to continue to prosecute that case.
I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just got to say, though, that to dismiss this case in light of the vast contributions and in contradiction to the efforts that were made in the previous administration does look like a complete surrender to me. And I hope you will respond to the document inquiries that were made by Sheldon Whitehouse. Thank you. Madam Chair, thank you.